Alright, I'm back, ready to talk about how to tackle kind of the front of front of the plane here, excuse me. So I think what we'll do is, rather than address any of this stuff like kind of moving along the way we were, I think we should kind of move to the front of the plane body here now. Alright, so if you remember where the front of the plane body is going to go, the nose is going to end up like right in here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another piece of construction geometry from that very front point. I'm just going to draw a line that goes 0.5 inches straight up. Alright, and the reason I drew a line that goes straight 0.5 inches straight up, and I'm going to change it over to construction geometry, is because I want to be able to draw a circle here that has a radius of 0.25, but a diameter of 0.5. Alright, and that line that we just drew, the 0.5 inch line, lets us do that. So we can go ahead and we can create a circle, alright, with a center point at the midpoint of that line that we just drew. So a midpoint along a line is indicated by a green circle as opposed to like a little yellow circle. Alright, so I know that this is going to be the center. And then I can go ahead and define a point along the curve, or a point along the outside of the circle. Okay, so what we can do is we can just go ahead and we can pick that start location of the 8-inch long line. Now, what that does for us is it builds that half circle here with a radius of 0.25, alright, and all we have to do is just use the trim tool, and we should be able to come in and we should be able to clean up that geometry a little bit. So that's really handy, okay? And if you want to delete that 0.5 inch dimension, that's fine. You can go ahead and you can just put the 0.25 inch radial dimension back on there. But that gives you the nose of the plane, okay? Now you're all set. You can just kind of work right off of that last point. You can go 0.5 inches over to the right, and that puts you at the start of the little cockpit here. Now this is where things get a little bit tricky, okay? We have to locate kind of the big circle here that's going to make up just this arc for the cockpit. We have a couple things to work with. We have this last endpoint that we located, and we're also going to have to put in a center marker, a center point, just so we can locate where the center of that larger arc is going to be. So what we'll do is we'll go up to our create tools, and I'm going to grab a point. Okay, so I'm just going to locate that center of the circle just by, proportionally or just kind of like roughly placing that center point on my workspace. When I'm done with that, I can press escape or right click and hit done. And then I want to put some dimensions on it just so I kind of know loosely where it's going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a dimension from the 8-inch long line down to that point underneath it. So we'll go in here. Alright, right now it's 0.50 something. We'll change that over to a 1-inch dimension. Alright, now that point is located like up and down, but it could still move kind of like left to right. Alright, so we don't know exactly where that's going to go left to right just yet. We don't have any information about that. So what we'll try to do here is we're going to try to create our circle or our arc based on just the information we have. So let's go ahead and go back to our circle drawing tool. We'll click that point, center point location. Alright, we'll pick a point along the arc. And then really the one piece of information that we don't have is like where that center point's located, like east, west, or horizontally. But what we do know is we know that the dimension of the large circle is going to be a radius of 2 inches, which means the diameter is going to be 4 inches. So you can go ahead and you can click on that circle, and you can key in a value of 4, alright, because that's going to be the diameter dimension. Now what we just did was we forced the computer to put the center 1 inch off of this line, keep a point along the circle, locked into, like where that last line just came off of, and then we're also forcing the size of the circle. So we do know kind of like where that arc is going to be created. Now what you can do is you can come back and you can kind of clean up or trim out pieces of the circle that you don't need. And I'm gonna leave the back side on this for just a minute because we didn't really finish that up 100%. So let's just go over here to the other side, and we'll go ahead and we will create a line from this bottom end of the 17-degree line that we put in earlier. We'll just go ahead and we'll start drawing a line like kind of up on an angle as it looks over here. Alright, but notice things aren't like touching each other. So what we'll do is we'll put the dimension on for the 4 degrees from the 8-inch long line up to that new angular line that we just put in. Right now it's like under 4 degrees, it's 3.344 or something. We'll change that over to 4. Alright, and then I'm going to use my trim and extend tools just to clean this all up and kind of put the sketch loosely together. So, I'm going to click on my extend tool. I'm going to bring this line right up against until it meets like this next circle. So we'll do that. And then I'm going to use my trim tool just to clean up the back side of this circle. And we're in pretty good shape. Alright, I don't like this dimension here, so I'm just going to delete that really quick. And we can put a new dimension on it just to make sure that it stays locked in at a radius of 2 inches. That's cool with me. Alright, and we're in pretty good shape. You have the body of the plane here. Alright, I'm going to come back in another video. We can do the little opening. We can do the rectangle here. We can even go over the hexagon shape up in the top right corner of the fin.